Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back. You can see it is sunset for me. The shadow's right over here at the moment. But morning for the US. I think the team in Singapore that started us off this morning are most likely in bed by now. We're on our second last session. My session now is with a panel discussion on the changing landscape of sales. Welcome, and just a little bit of an overview of the event. So Growth Inbound, we've been running, as I said, since early hours with the Singapore team. We crossed over into Berlin and then into Dublin. We've been having sessions, the last few sessions in the United States. The last session was with Yamini. Next session is with Phoebe Scott from Avison Young. So in total, 10 different sessions, 20 fantastic presenters. Next up is the panel. So I would like to welcome my panel guests onto the screen, and they're going to join one at a time. There's Anthony, Richard, and Elias. Hi guys, nice to have you with me.
Hello Daryn, how are you?
Hi Daryn.
Hi Daryn.
Not too bad, thanks Anthony. I haven't actually been asked in return. How am I?
The Irish way. No.
All right, so let's kick off with a few introductions, and then just for everybody that's tuned in, it is an interactive panel. I will be monitoring the comments, so if you have a question for these guys, please do post it into the comment section. I'll ask that to them. I'm going to try to do as little speaking as possible. So if we start, Richard, maybe we'll start with you. Can you give us a brief introduction?
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Richard Stubbs. I'm the Commercial Director of VUCA Group. We're a media company in the business of connections. We have digital and media assets, and we're also in the business of live events and now digital events. In the spirit of Yamini's statement earlier, just to where are you in the world? I'm in sunny Cape Town, and yeah, thrilled to join you all today.
Awesome, thank you, Richard. Anthony, do you want to go next?
Yes, sure. Hi, Anthony O'Connor, Managing Director of Bubblebridge, co-owner with Amy Dwyer. We are a Munich-based company, but with 2 Irish owners. Yeah. We are a digital marketing and HubSpot agency. We are 18 employees. As I said, I'm kind of Gen X, so have been around the agency world quite a while now. We were talking earlier. I was in the booms in 2000, where we had a lot of good stuff going on. Yeah, and now as the pandemic is going on, which has changed the landscape also quite a bit, which is interesting times. Yeah. I have a background I originally was programming designer. As I was saying beforehand, I was a director. I was probably even a president in the 2000s at some stage. I think everybody was at that stage, yeah. And now I'm managing director then of Bubblebridge.
Awesome, thanks for the intro. Elias, should we save the best for last? Is that what they say?
Yeah, thanks Daryn. Elias Tsakaris. I joined Huble DIgital in the big intake in August, where the business went over 100 full-time employees. I work on the sales hub side with the team and the consultants there, working on building out that part of the business in terms of the services, training, and consulting work that we're doing there, as well as the technology that we're offering all our clients and partners that we work with.
Cool, awesome. So we got 3 really interesting people that should be able to give us some good insights as to what has changed in sales and so on over the last kind of year, how kind of leading teams has changed, the type of technology that we've seen being adopted and maybe no longer adopted, as well as what is 2022 going to look like in terms of sales. Are we going back to physical meetings, physical events? I'm sure, Richard, you really hoping to go back to those physical events as soon as possible. So a great panel, and just to reiterate, if anybody does have any questions that they would like to ask the panel, please do put that into the comments section. All right, so let's start off with the first question. So not all of you lead sales teams, but you're involved with sales teams and you consult to sales teams. So first question is, and maybe Anthony, because I'll start with you because I've made Richard introduce him first. But what are some of the key challenges that you've seen sales teams face over the last 12 to 18 months?
Well, I think actually one of the biggest challenges has been not being able to be in contact, like physical contact with the customers. You know, beforehand, you have to go there, you have to talk. And I think what we have to remember is, we all talk about B2B, B2C, but it's actually H to H, it's human to human. Yeah. Everybody, you actually do business with people and not so much with businesses. And in this way, it has been a bit more difficult. But saying that, I do believe that it also has brought a lot of opportunities as well as the year has moved on. So having things online beforehand, I think you were sitting on a conference table, talking, meeting with the customer. And now sometimes you find yourself in the sitting room of the customer. Yeah. You're sitting in the sitting room, they're coming along, you're seeing kind of different areas of their life. You know, I'm often in a conference and my son might come in and give me a hug. Yeah. You see this also on the customer. So you're actually getting an insight into their lives as well. So inside our sitting rooms, which does actually also soften some of the borders as you go along. Yeah. And we kind of realize we're all human, we're all doing business together. And I think this element does help the sales process also quite a bit.
Richard, would you agree? I mean, like, I know, you know, event sales as a very kind of Wolf of Wall Street sales environment almost. So what have you seen?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting topic for us because within our office, hybrid has a dual meaning. We've got a hybrid event sort of environment in which the next physical events that we deliver will inevitably have some sort of hybrid element. And then we've got a hybrid working environment for our teams. So yeah, it's interesting the similarities and opportunities and challenges that are consistent across the working environment and the nature in which we deliver our products. I would say how it's changed from our sales cycle is that we've found that it's kind of ebbed and flowed between people having more time because they've been working from home. Sometimes it's been easier to get hold of decision makers because they're at home and they're available, and you know we found it in some respects easier to schedule meetings at certain times of the lockdown. So opportunities have been, you know, like I say, sometimes it's been easier to access people. The relationship part, I'd pick up on Anthony's point there is there's been a different type of engagement with customers, and you've really been able to work the customers that you know well because you have the relationship with them that you can have a conversation with them in their home or on their personal device or, you know, on a Zoom or a Teams or whatever it is called. So yeah, it's been a significant change from what we've seen during lockdown. Decision making has become harder. There's more people involved in the sales process. So often the length of sale gets stretched out because nobody wants to risk a bad purchase or make a bad decision, you know, when everyone's under so much stress. So yeah, there are so many complexities, nuances, opportunities, challenges to the whole hybrid environment. It has been, it's been a very interesting year. I'd never say it was in 2019. It was fine because everyone met in person, and team meetings were in person, and customer meetings were in person. In 2020, and some parts for us, you know, 2021, everything's been online. And while that hasn't, I wouldn't go so far as say that's been easy. Far from it. But at least everyone was online, so all those meetings were online. What I think we're challenged with going forward is the hybrid element. Some of them will, and some of them will be online, and some of them will be in person. And the scales of balance are going to tip and ebb either way until they even out to what normal looks like.
Yeah.
So Elias, maybe there's a question in the comment pane there, and maybe I can combine it, to you. You've seen different customers across different regions. Have you seen, in terms of the challenges they've faced, has there been any regional nuance that you've identified?
Yeah, I mean, to build on to the guys' inputs there, and I think it's a very much an example of, I think accessing and getting in touch with people has been easy. But what I think, and this is some of the feedback I'm getting from some of the more senior salespeople, is building relationships and equity has become a little more difficult without the human touch. It's easy to get maybe their time and a meeting scheduled, and everyone is doing 60 minutes on 60 minutes on 60 minutes. But I find that we're getting some sales commercial directors saying, but my client, the relationship isn't strong enough yet. It isn't long lasting enough. I haven't invested enough in it. I've had the first contact. They know what we do, etc. But the relationship itself needs an element that comes out in the hybrid side of the model, but needs quite an interesting set of challenges to be met and investments to be met. In fact, I was having an extensive debate with an international sales director who was forcing his junior sales team to join him in an in-person meeting with a very big government entity, where the decision maker, very old school, big office. Yes, his team works from home, but he's in the office as a workaholic on a day-to-day basis. And they were chasing a very big deal and a very big contract, and he was adamant that there was no way they're going to close it over email or over Zoom or over WhatsApp like his team wanted, and actually forced them to take the hour to drive, the hour for the meeting, and the hour for the drive back to actually develop that relationship and establish that relationship on a deeper level. And I think this is where the challenges are coming in with the hybrid, is how much hybrid is too much. It's never 50-50. But where is your 20 and where is your 80 that most people kind of function on, and what's needed for that?
And I think it's also, another thing is also the types of projects you're working on. If you're working on a bigger project, a bigger sale, you do need this contact to the end customer. Yeah, everything online, big workshops, planning sessions, is really hard, I find personally, online to organize this. Smaller projects, smaller sales, this is not a problem. But if it's something bigger with more scope, I really do believe you need this kind of physical contact going on.
And Anthony, I think also what comes out, and it comes from sales and it goes into kind of key account management as well. You've got to have those back channels available to you. You need to be able to pick up the phone and talk to the client and go, listen, this isn't going to happen. You don't need it in a Zoom call. You don't need it in that you need it in that back channel where you're going to pick up the phone and say, listen, I know this was going to happen. Maybe this will work. Maybe this won't. And work in that area of grayness, or where it's not 100%, on the record in front of everyone else, and manage that accordingly, right?
Yeah, very true.
I think it also demonstrates, we've put some guys on a plane from Cape Town to Joburg to go and see customers. Yeah. And it's the customers that are willing to see guys traveling up from Cape Town are the customers where they have a good relationship. And we found that our customers have really appreciated that effort for us to get up and see them. Obviously, some are still very cautious and don't want to see somebody, and that's fine, and that's understandable. But those of them that have really appreciated the effort that our guys have made to go up and sit, whether it's in a coffee shop or to some extent in offices, to make the investment and the time to sit and have a conversation with a person, and all those little bits of magic that may not get discussed because they might not form part of an agenda, and the little bits of information that you get on the side, and that free flowing discussion. The teams have brought a lot of value back from that, and the customers have really appreciated the effort that they've made to get up.
Which then becomes a question, and I think, Daryn, you'll allude to this maybe later, is does this now become a USP for sales teams that are prepared to make that effort to actually get on a plane or to get into a client's office?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've had the experience where a prospect is asked to meet me in person, and I've invested the time to travel, and then I've arrived there and they're like, oh, I forgot I asked for this to be in person, and I've sat in my car doing a Zoom meeting. So, like, how do you overcome things like that? Like, because now you're going to have this hybrid kind of environment.
Yeah, I think the thing with the whole hybrid discussion is that there's a flip side to every every issue. So efficiency of how many meetings. So you think of even I know some of your guys have come to see us, Darren. It's been wonderful and we've really loved it. But they've lost half an hour on either side of the meeting with us to get to us and to get back to their homes or their offices or wherever they were working from. And that's an hour lost out of productive time in their day. So,
was it lost if they made that effort and you guys, and it left that feeling with you? The question then becomes, are meetings and productivity the quantity, or is it becoming the quality side of the business?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And like you say, the balance is going to tip and where's the 80, where's the 20, because it's unlikely to be 50-50. So yeah, I think that's the challenge in finding that balance, isn't it?
And I think also what you find hard is on online meetings is all the soft facts on the side about the customer. Like Richard, I know you have 2 kids, you have 2 dogs. Darren, I know your bathroom's in the back. So all of these things that happen, on the side, that is not so business. So it's very hard to go into a Zoom call with 8 people and talk about the soft facts. Yeah. And this is kind of missing, to get to know the people you're working with, the people I'm doing deals with. This is where I do believe we need the hybrid solution, for this.
So Damon's put an interesting question in there. In a sales environment, the sales team tend to feed off each other's energy. If you are cold calling, if you are getting consistent no's, but you sitting next to somebody that's getting yeses, it really uplifts your energy. So how have you guys overcome that, or have you heard of how other companies are overcoming that type of sales morale and energy from working from home versus working on a sales floor? Let's see, Richard, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah, the employee morale bit is really important. I think the mental health issues around work from home have been discussed at length. I remember at one stage during one of the heavy lockdowns, somebody saying, "I'm not sure if I work from home or live from work." So that kind of the balance of working and living in the same environment, it's, like I say, that's been discussed at length. There is definitely something to be said for a junior salesperson, a developing salesperson, to listen to one of your top guys on the phone and hear the way he overcomes objections. For project managers in our business to just get a temperature check on the types of conversations that people are having with their customers. What are they talking about? What's important to them? What are they pitching? What are they not pitching? So, what questions are being asked, all those types of things. So there is that. I mean, you can replace it. You've just got to make a lot more effort, I think, of doing training, giving people an opportunity to talk about wins and challenges and what they've experienced on calls. But yeah, the employee morale bit is something that's had our attention here a lot. Are they happier, more comfortable working from home? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And yeah, again, it's about finding that balance.
Anthony, what have you seen in terms of kind of overcoming that, creating that energy and that morale?
I think what you're saying, Richard, is also the mental element, is that people were afraid that when people were purely online and not in the office, that they weren't working. I have the opposite experience, that people are always online and always working. Yeah. And it's actually getting into them saying, hey, get off the phone. Don't be, get off online. You don't need to be answering emails straight away. Yeah. And from the sales team, I do believe that the more junior salespeople, they do get quite a lot of experience listening to online presentations, online sales going on. But again, it's very hard. They're not sitting beside someone to ask the questions. If they're preparing presentations, Yeah, if they need information, just having that contact person to, ask that last piece of information about a customer. What's your experience? Does this presentation look good? When everything is online, I find that just a bit more difficult than sitting in the office.
Elias, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think the novelty of being online has well worn off. The whole idea of, oh, we're all getting on Zoom calls and this is great and we can get to see everyone. And I was a traveling sales guy as well. Driving 45 minutes, finding parking, finding the office, setting up, trying not to sweat through your jacket while you're waiting for the client to show up, that kind of thing. It all is, and yes, you want to make sure you're doing the right presentation to the right client, to the right magnitude. But there is a lot to be said about, ticking the boxes of how many meetings you had in the week and how many of those meetings are actually establishing clients that match your business, but also relationships that match your personality, maybe as a salesperson sometimes, which also needs to be taken into kind of consideration. People, I had this heated debate over the weekend where one of my ex-colleagues was like, there's a big a point to be made for people who live on their own, because they got to shop on their own, they got to make their own food, they got to, it's not living at home with a partner or your kids and whatever, where there is a balance that can absorb some of the pressure. But then also people with families are going through certain things that carry into the now office at home kind of situation. So it's those margins now have to be factored in, and again decided upon in how you move forward. So when salespeople need to focus, they can actually focus on their job, and there is some sort of Chinese wall, that space, that mental space that allows them to focus on work and pack everything else away, and get away from. And if that means now going into the office every now and again and meeting your other colleagues, which hopefully you like and like working with, and are trying to achieve the same goal, that camaraderie sometimes goes missing when you're all plugged in and everything is switch on and switch off and I couldn't make it, etc. Which I feel in a lot of sales teams was one of the driving forces. You have these, highly energetic, highly specialized sales managers and directors, and then that energy from the team, that camaraderie from the team, pulling people up that are struggling or sales guys that are struggling, and enjoying the wins as well at a higher level. When you have a big client that you close or a big deal, it's nice to share it with all your sales team. Now you're going to go, oh, by the way, let me slack this to a bunch of guys and try and get them. That doesn't carry the same way, I'm afraid. I don't feel it. It's very different. Very, very different.
I agree with you very much. And actually enjoying the wins, enjoying with everybody around you. If you're sitting at home and you win a project, it's kind of, yippee, great. Yes.
There's only so many claps on the Zoom emoji that can do justice to a big win, isn't there?
Let's open a bottle of Prosecco or something like that, and then you have it yourself, which doesn't end good. But so you're not enjoying it with everybody else. Yeah. And I think that is actually really an element that is missing. And we're as a company finding ourselves, that kind of is an element that could really be improved.
Yeah.
So there's a fair amount of discussion going in the comments around technology. A lot of you will know that obviously HubSpot has a whole bunch of tools that help remote working and so on. So excluding HubSpot, because that's the obvious answer, what other technology have you seen people implement to help overcome some of these challenges? And Elias, I'll put you on the spot first, since you haven't gone first yet.
Well, I mean, all the usual channels and communication tools. So everything from the Slack. Obviously, everyone's using either Zoom or Hopin or whichever of the video channels as well. In previous roles, I must admit, I'm guilty of the odd WhatsApp group as well to keep things going, especially when I was working in environments where the weekends were overlapping and underlapping with some clients in different time zones. Very, very risky and very dangerous space to play in, WhatsApp groups, because all of a sudden you find yourself, you have more WhatsApp groups than WhatsApp contacts, which is never a good sign. Those are a couple of ones that I've the one that I heard earlier, which was interesting, is using was it Monday.com to keep track of the lists of things to do and things that need to be addressed. That's another one that I've taken on recently as well, to kind of keep track of, things that are constantly rattling in your head and you want to address first thing in the morning instead of last thing at night, which also affects different people at different times.
Yeah, I think for our markets, you mentioned WhatsApp groups. For our markets, WhatsApp is one of the primary connection tools with customers. So we've got guys whose proposals go out over WhatsApp, deals get won over WhatsApp. Really? The communication with the customer is via WhatsApp, and Darren and his team have got some solutions for us there. So thank you. Nice move across the sponsor content, which is great. I think that the other thing with technology is there's always something, isn't there? And often technology can be a shiny ball that, ooh, look at this. But there's any number of the good thing about sales is there's so many metrics that you can measure, so many small cogs that need to turn so that the big revenue wheel turns itself around. And it's partly engaging new technologies, like we need to do with WhatsApp, but it's also just making use of the technologies that you've got, being clear on what's expected of people. And, when we talk about a flexible working environment, which, undoubtedly is the future, you can only have flexibility if you've got visibility into what's being done. And like I say, there's any number of metrics that can be measured on sales to track performance.
I think one of the big changes just before the pandemic that when it happened, we moved to the Microsoft cloud. Now, Darren, I know you're not a big fan of Microsoft, but it actually...
We're losing you, Anthony. We're losing you. Sorry. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
No, I'm kidding.
No. So anyway, and this really helped our business. Like, everybody's able to work together on documents, work in teams. We're also able to share teams with our different businesses. So we have our customers, we're able to actually go into their teams, share documents. It's very secure. Security is really not a big problem. Outlook, everything is mobile. It is just, I personally find it quite a good environment. Now, I do understand that it's sometimes a bit slow. It's not perfect. But it really has helped our business. And that one step, we actually just moved everything in November, December. And then in January, February, the world changed. So it was a really good move for us at the time.
You're lucky.
Yeah, that was a lucky change.
Yeah.
But I think you make a good point. Whether you go kind of the Google environment or the Microsoft environment or the Adobe environment, I think you need to kind of select a tech stack because it does automatically integrate. And I think that's certainly one of the most difficult kind of sales is trying to convince a CTO that has aligned to Microsoft not to use Microsoft Dynamics, but he clearly hasn't used Microsoft Dynamics if he wants to use it.
I know. I was just going to say one of the what you were saying beforehand is different chat groups. Like, you have WhatsApp, you have Teams, you have Slack, yeah. And then I have actually had somebody over Messenger or Facebook, and kind of go, guys, can you please have one channel? It's a bit confusing at the moment,
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a question. I've got a question for the panel as well, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
It's something that's kind of hot on our topic at the moment. While we're going this way, what are you guys planning for the future of your own office environment? So I'm still at the office because I've been here all day, and we've got a reasonably big office, of which at any one time 50% of our team are in, and it's expensive to run this office. But we've got staff that work from home, and some people who work really, really well from home. Some people who are more productive, like myself, being in the office because of the kids and the dogs who you mentioned. How are you guys structuring your office environments ahead of an anticipated, kind of somewhat return to a hybrid working environment? How are you planning floor space in your office? Are you changing the layout? Are you changing the function, the form of what your office looks like? Where are you guys at with that?
Well, we have kept the physical office the whole time, and in the future we will keep the office as well. I think it's a very important part of the business, because as you're saying, you know, some people are at home, the roof is caving in on them. They just want to get out, get to the office. I personally find when I go to the office, I don't get as much work often done as I do at home, because you're talking to people, you have the social contact, you know, which is really, really important, and people need it. Yeah. So we will definitely keep an office in the future. It is a bit empty sometimes. And we do try and plan it that, you know, we all meet together at a certain time, maybe once a week, once a month. That's kind of a group session going on. Yeah, if Corona allows it. But the physical, we've actually asked employees, like, do they want an office? Do they feel like, and everybody says they do want an office. It's not that they want to be there. It might be only once a week, twice a month to go there, but having an office is important for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I found, like where I am at the moment, for those that obviously don't know, and Darren keeps teasing me, but the one thing I've noticed, and I've been having this chat with some of the consulting friends that I have out here, the number of consultants and tech people that are out in small towns and where the Wi-Fi has been jacked up, in coffee shops, in little restaurants, in random little places, has been phenomenal. And yet you find this, like I think Anthony's alluding to, is people, to answer your question, Richard, we're almost 100% virtual, but there is a request that comes from some of the employees that they want that option to be able to check in somewhere under the guise of a rented common area space or work sharing space, etc., to be able to unplug from, like Anthony alluded to, like, you know, everything is crumbling at home. I need to actually go and breathe. And that allows, again, for some sort of, I think, venting and some sort of balancing of kind of the energies to kick in as well, and to kind of reinvigorate as well. Now, are we at the end of everything? Is this booster and the second booster, and now there's a third booster being discussed? Does that dictate that planning and thinking ahead? I think at the end of the day, it's your budgets will dictate one way, and your employees' kind of requests and demands will kick in the other way, I think.
And I think also sometimes the customers want to come and visit you, you know.
Exactly.
Which is a point. So to come visit me at home, my 2 kids and 2 dogs, it's not optimal. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, but we might have a different conversation. So having a physical office is actually important for that as well. That people can come, meet up with you, meet up with the team, and actually see how you work as well. So I think that's like, how do you work as a team in your environment, which is also very important. Which
we forget about in the tech kind of software space, where you think of some more traditional industries like hospitality and hotels, where the owner of a new hotel wants to come and meet you. You can't invite him to, you know, you've got to take him to either a property or some sort of grandiose office of some sort to showcase at the end of the day, your product and your brand to a degree. It's very tricky. We tend to think in the space of tech and software and even events, Richard. I'm sure for you guys, you have some clients that come in that want to meet the team and want to, you know, meet you in person and actually maybe go to the venue for that matter in some cases.
Yeah, it's really interesting case at the moment. We've got some team traveling to Milan at the end of this week to go to an exhibition. And obviously we've all seen what's happening in Europe of, you know, waves and lockdowns, but the registration numbers to attend a live event are just flying. So there really is like, you know, we get a sense there's a desire, in fact, more a need to interact on a face-to-face basis for a customer to go and kick the tires of a piece of equipment that they might want to look at an exhibition, for instance, or actually just get face-to-face and fist pump or shake a hand and connect with another person. So that's been really encouraging for us as an industry that, you know, despite the challenges over there, the performance has, you know, is telling a different story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. We conducted a survey of all the staff, and the option that came out highest was, yes, keep a small office space, but give us a budget to go to coffee shops and meet informally with team members. So if there's a whole bunch of people that live in a certain area, they can go to a specific coffee shop and just, you know, get a free a cappuccino on the company. So it was quite interesting to see that. And I see Malcolm just kind of popped a comment in there. But Malcolm and I actually met up in a bar for 2 hours and got so much done. We did have 2 beers, but we also achieved a lot of work.
Which is also sorry, Darren, but it's also I think the guys, I think to Richard's, the culture of your business, when new people are joining, if you can't join in person and experience that your work culture in person, it's a very big challenge.
Yeah.
And Richard, I don't know. Sorry. The other thing that we noticed as well, we're actually employing people from all over Germany and actually all over the world. So it is a little bit different that you do have to have an online environment for certain employees, yeah. But not everybody is sitting in Munich, which is also a big difference than to 2 years ago.
And I guess the challenge is, how do you make those people feel engaged if a number of your team are in an in-person meeting and there's little side conversations happening and some of those people are joining virtually? How do they feel engaged in that meeting as opposed to being a viewer or just an attendee? And that's something that applies to our working environment, but then also is very much on our mind on how we deliver hybrid events next year. So, yeah, interesting points. Thanks, guys.
If you look at kind of sales team structures, you've got the traditional kind of SDR team, the BDR team, outbound sales team, inbound sales team. Maybe you've got territories, maybe you've got sales teams that target specific products, or in your case, Richard, you might have teams focusing on specific events. Now, with the change, do you think you're going to start seeing things like a remote sales team and an in-office sales team? How are sales team structures going to potentially change?
Yeah, I think we're working towards some core days per product or per division. So, and then some core hours within those days, and outside of that is time that's for flex. We have staff, sales team in Joburg and in Cape Town. So there is always going to be a need, and they work very closely together for them to engage, online. We can't put those people together at all times. So yeah, I think we will probably move towards a set of core hours where that you can have people are available for meetings, whether they're in person or online, depending on the person's circumstance. Some core days where you can set project team meetings where, our sales teams can meet with the fulfillment teams, the operations teams, the content teams, the project managers, and everyone can have those kind of large productive meetings. And we know there's a time allocated for that. And outside of that is time that can be flex. So yeah, it's, that's where we're at the moment.
Great. Anthony, what have you seen in terms of team structures?
Well, the team structure at the moment, I think as we move along, is we're realizing there is a lot of business, as you know, around the HubSpot digital world. A lot of customers that are actually very spread out all over Germany, and quite international customers coming to us as well. So having a online sales team that actually deals with them, works with them online is great. But when you're growing a customer, when you want to actually develop a customer, that is really where you do need this contact, these meetings going on. The initial sales, the initial meetings can happen online. But as I said beforehand, when it goes to a bigger project, it could be flying the people in, meeting up with the customer, also developing the customer. It might be, as you're saying, during a big project, the salesperson will go in, also have a feeling, how has the project gone? Is there anything else that has gone pear-shaped, basically, within the project? Could we improve anything? And also, what other opportunities do we have in this project to actually sell and also develop the services that we're selling into a customer? And so the whole development part, you really do need, I believe, this physical kind of the meeting, the face-to-faces as we move along. Just everything cannot just move online in a sales world. Yeah.
Okay, and in terms of maybe Richard, back to you, like, because you've spoken about like in-person events, like, so you get these huge conferences and huge exhibitions around the world. The oil industry gets together in a certain city or whatever the case may be. And there's a lot of deal making that happens there. Like, what are you guys seeing? Is that going to still happen? Is it going to happen differently? What are you predicting?
Yeah, it will almost certainly happen differently. The digital events, it's almost like a genie that's taken out of the bottle, and how do you ever get that back in? Because for every one person that goes to a live event, there's 2, 3, 4, 10 that could have, should have, would have gone to that same event. So as event organizers, we're presented with an opportunity to increase eyeballs onto the shows, onto the content that we deliver and the products that are available on, for visitors to see at those shows. What's been really encouraging as well is some of that deal creation and some of that interaction has happened digitally. The nature of digital delivery means you can be much more results orientated, and customers are in it for lead generation or brand awareness, and they want to see MQLs flowing into their business the same way that we do. And the digital environment has given us an opportunity to really stick a stake in the ground and say, here's what you can expect to deliver, and here's what we delivered, and here are your leads, and here are the, and triage them and put some data behind them as well. So yeah, it's been really encouraging. We've had very positive feedback about some of the digital events, and we're also getting customers that really can't wait to meet in person again. So the future of our industry is almost certainly hybrid, depending on the event, the sector it's in, the market it serves, the territory that the event's being delivered in will affect how much hybrid accompanies and the audience that you can attract in that. And as I said earlier, the challenge is integrating those two audiences so they feel like they're attending and they're experiencing the same thing, as opposed to, I'm kind of watching the live event on my cell phone or on my computer. The digital attendee needs to feel part of that experience. And we've made some great strides towards that, but there's a heck of a lot more that we can do to bring those two attendee types together in a more meaningful way.
And I think it's keeping the attention of the people if they're online. You can't actually physically see, are they actually doing something on the side? Is something distracting what's going on? That is a bit more difficult, I find, in the whole online environment. Whereas if it's a physical meeting, a physical event, you can actually look at the people, get a feeling, are they paying attention? If they're not.
The metaverse isn't here just yet, right? I mean, I attended a digital event a couple of months ago, and the networking kind of preferred attendees which was an avatar of your face on this like humanoid body. The problem was it was one directional, so you had to go walk around to the front of someone's avatar to see them talking. So everyone was walking on top of each other, and it looked like lemmings. We turned into like this whole like accordion of like, who's talking? Oh, and then after a while, it's just so awkward. It's just like
it can feel a bit intimidating as well, I think. I'm not sure I'm quite ready yet to have a voice, a video call with somebody who's just appeared and sent me a connection request. I'm not sure we're at that stage.
Oh,
so
no.
There's all those things to consider.
Yeah, sometimes it's a generational thing, but it's the cost of doing business, right? It's the
Second Life, if you ever says anything to you. That was the start of it.
That was the start of it, unfortunately.
That just tells my age at this stage when I talk about Second Life. Yeah.
I mean, you can see the comments kind of flooding in along the side here, and you can see people responding to each other and agreeing or asking a question or responding to a question, making observations, and that's how people connect, isn't it? So maybe those people connect on the platform, and it's the basis of a relationship of some sorts. So digital has the ability to offer those connections. As I say, for us, it's how do you connect the physical and digital attendees in a meaningful way that they feel like they're experiencing the same events.
Yeah,
and speakers. Obviously, we can bring in speakers from all over the world now.
Yes,
to Cape Town, which is
that
great.
was possible, Richard. That was always possible. You used to rent $100,000 for 10 minutes on a satellite link, and you'd have whoever you wanted. It's just a lot more expensive back then, right?
Yeah, and people are used to it as well now. You know, it's accepted to be meeting with, you know, to be streaming in and speaking on a camera and presenting to an audience, whether that's, you know, so people have become a lot more used to it, which has helped.
And people are turning on the cameras now. At the start, it was a bit difficult, a bit awkward for people turning on the cameras, or actually people are actually okay to say, it's early morning, guys, I'm not turning on my camera, just that you know. Just
There's a big difference from being in the room with an Elon Musk presenting to just being in a virtual room where Elon is on a feed or something, right? It's a very different experience, right? At least in terms of value and engagement.
Yeah. You know, the biggest deal that I've ever done, I think, Anthony, you'll appreciate this, is I was at an event, and the lineup wasn't looking great for the afternoon. It was in Dublin. And so I went to that pub next to the Millennium Bridge, and I was sitting there. I forgot to take my lanyard off, and next thing I got speaking to somebody and did a big deal. So that I suppose is best. So we just about out of time. So to wrap up from each of you, I'd like to ask the question, like, what is the one thing that you think people should be looking to change in 2022? And are you aware of any company that people should be looking at and benchmarking themselves against? So yeah, we've got basically a minute each, because we need to end off in 3 minutes. So who wants to go first there? If you go first, then you can steal somebody else's idea later.
Well, I'll start off. Yeah. So I think one of the things is that in 2022, if possible, these face-to-face meetings, this hybrid solution is really important. Yeah. I do believe that the online events, online meetings are great, but certain projects you do need the physical meetings. Yeah. And to look at companies that are doing a great job at the moment, if you look at, let's look at HubSpot, I'll just take them. Yeah. They're really, if you look at the progress of a company, yeah, over the last 2 years, it's just amazing. Yeah. So this is really a company that is changing. It's very dynamic. It's also getting new solutions. It's adapting its solutions also for the market. Yeah, which is quite a big thing to look at.
Richard. Okay, Elias, you go for it, Elias. You started there.
Well, I mean, for me, I feel that differentiation that is going to become really important. What that differentiation is for different sales teams and different businesses, I think is going to be unique in 2022. I think this idea of restoring a little bit of that humanity as we come through this is going to be quite important in all aspects of business. You know, companies are talking about data. All companies now operate with data. It's the same like saying, to quote someone, it's like saying I operate with electricity, right? It's part of your decision making. It's part of the way you process and the way you function. But bringing in this kind of empathy and kind of humanity into the business and with your customers, I think is going to be quite important in this year as we come through all of this. And I think salespeople will be that part of that interface with the greater marketplace and the greater society, because they're the ones that are constantly meeting with clients and getting that feedback of what is wanted, what is not wanted. I think that will be one of the bigger differentiating factors in 2022.
Yeah, I think for me, the important thing heading into 2022 is flexibility. At the moment, if there's a sense of confidence about 2022, but I seem to remember having that confidence at the end of 2020. And then 2021 just came and gave me a big smack in the face. True. So flexibility going into 2022 is going to be really important. Flexibility on the working arrangement, flexibility on time in office, time with customers. In terms of companies to keep an eye on, what I've learned from today and been sitting in on some of these other sessions, I think I'm going to close this browser and go and open LinkedIn and start connecting with some of the companies I've heard about today and some of the individuals, because Daryn, the content's been fantastic. It's been really well delivered, and it's been a very enjoyable event. So well done to you and your team for delivering it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Richard. I really appreciate that. And sadly, that's all we have time for, unfortunately. There is another session, our last session for today, coming up next. It is with Phoebe Scott and Jessica Packer, our Chief Customer Officer. They're going to be talking about collaboration and using CRM to align different people. So Anthony, Richard, Elias, thank you so much for your inputs today. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, Richard, thanks for those compliments. See you guys at the next session.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys.
Thanks. I enjoyed today. That was really good. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.